chose Dali. It's almost a caricature of a person, really, and that was his image, wasn't it? Okay, I'll do Dali as well, because it's very interesting, because his head is slightly tilted. So to get that right is really quite difficult. So I will do Dali to start with, but what you have to, and in fact, you don't really have to do that much more to him, do you? This is what I did earlier. But, you know, he's a cartoon. Quite easy to draw him, he's a cartoon, but you will learn a lot by doing him because his face is tilted in two ways. Okay, and you can see he's got the mad staring eye syndrome, but that, as I say, that was his image. And I will start drawing. Okay, I suppose I'll be over here, but so I'm going to have a good old scribble. So remember last week we were just starting with scribbling. So scribble, scribble, scribble. So I'm going to try and do his egg. He's a slightly tilted egg, and then we want to follow his eye line, which is pretty much like that. Okay, can you see what I'm doing? I'll press harder. So I've got my egg, and then his eye line's like that. It's also a 3/4 view, so you want to go down the center of his face. So imagine you're taking a line straight down the center of his nose. So again, so this is the scaffolding of your drawing. And you can't see his ear. In fact, you can't see much else, but he is a very characterful face. Okay, so put this on first. So you're following the center line and you want to follow what his eye line's doing. Okay, and now we're going to start some serious drawing. This is I love these pencils. I'm not that mad about graphite as a rule. These are Staedtler 8Bs, these blue one, 8B, but it's pretty much a black crayon, but I really like them, and you can't rub them out very well, so perhaps I won't recommend it. So now we're going to, remember what I said about the 3/4 view? Try and follow that line there, the eyebrow and the nose. So I'm going to put the eyebrow in, sort of, and I'm going to try and follow what the nose is up to. Yeah, sort of. And again, the nose is slightly tilted. And then he has his mad eyes. I'm just going to put the sockets in, because I found this in my portrait class when we do the skull beneath the skin. I have the poor model posing there with the skull. You draw the skull first and then you draw the skin on top. But I found this is a very useful way of approaching eyes. You draw that socket. Now imagine the socket. And I'm going to do it quite dark, you do it quite faint, but it really helps to figure out how to depict the eyes. So it's this gelatinous shiny ball within eyelids. So I'm putting a round socket in there, and then his eye line is there. I'm having a good old scribble. And then I probably want to refine this line here, because he's got some nice cheekbones going on. So if you think about the skull beneath the skin, you have cheekbones here, and you can see that it's protruding just there. And he's a bloke, so he's got a bit of a chunkier chin than your average. And then actually he's got quite a thin face. So you start looking at people and start analysing their faces. I'm thinking sort of James Corden looks like an apple, really, doesn't he? But I'm trying to think of someone else. But Joanna Lumley's got a very long face. So you start thinking about the shapes. And often a good way of getting a likeness is to think about someone's silhouette almost, that you can recognize someone about 100 yards away and as they're walking away from you, because you know their silhouette. So there's lots of little cues that we use to recognize people. And here, and then often men have a bigger eyebrow ridge as a rule, don't they? So they've got more bones going on here generally, and their jaw is a little bit squarer. But I'm going to go up here, and then his hairline as well is on this slight tilt. Okay, everybody with me so far? So I followed the nose down, I got some nostrils going on, but again, the center line is very useful for placing the mouth. People often wobble off a bit. So you've got this bit here on your face. It's not called the umlaut, it's called something peculiar. Anybody know? This thing? So you've got this thing, which actually defines the center of the face. And then he's got a mouth, which again is on a tilt. It's on the same tilt as his eye line. And then he's got a bottom lip, and I haven't given him enough chin. So that's a very scribbly drawing, and we're going to build it up. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit more detail in here. I think he had bad hair, didn't he? And I'm going to refine this a little bit more here, but then I'm going to go over it with layout paper and then find the good bits. The theory of this scribbly way of drawing, which I mentioned last week when you're doing ellipses, that you have a good old scribble. One of those lines is going to be right. So the question is, can you figure that out? So I'm looking at his eyebrows. So everybody has different shape eyebrows. And there's a lot of eyebrow fashion in the world at the moment. Anybody got an eyebrow stencil? No? A lot of young people are doing these mad stencils. Okay, so I'm looking at the roundness of his eyes, and obviously he's exaggerated his eyes because he wants to look like a mad person. That was his image. And again, if you start looking at the eye, I don't know how many people are working from this image. You can see the bottom of his lower lid is lit. You see just here, so that actually cuts off the iris, and actually getting this little light bit of the bottom lid is often a really good way to make an eye seem really real. So again, this is a circular object in space. I can see a tear duct, and there's his, so I'm going to draw in that little lid. And then all sorts of mad things are happening here. I'm not entirely sure what. So he's putting on his I'm a mad surrealist pose. Again, so I'm looking at the whites of his eyes. Remember, I did a lesson where I was saying how to draw eyes often, just to help you abstract it in your brain. If you just concentrate on the whites of the eyes, that helps you abstract it. So, and again, he's got this gleam. He has all dark flashing eyes, but look at where the gleam is, and actually that will tell you where he's looking, and he is looking directly at the camera, so he's breaking the fourth wall. Oh, mad staring eye. Sorry, got to work with sharp pencil. And then down here, so you can see the shading here, and that is highlighting the lower lid. And there's all sorts of shading going on here. In fact, I think I'll work on this. I'll put layout paper on it. And, oh, I don't know what's his eyebrow doing. And then he's got his lines in his forehead. And then I want to really look at his nose. So often everybody's nose is a little bit different, but I really want to look at this. It's kind of long and aquiline. And it's got a little bit of a bend, but then it's quite pointy. There, up here. Yeah, is that it? No, not really. And I don't know how many people are looking at this photograph. So you have planes of the face as well. So the nose will have a plane, the flat plane at the top of the nose. So often you can get a nose to be sort of this almost pyramid-like structure. And then you have the kind of ball of the nose at the bottom. You see what I'm doing? And actually he's got quite a refined little nose, got quite a big nose, and then he's got this kind of kink in it there. So you've got this plane on the top, which is flat, and then you have a plane, which is sort of here, which is not very highlighted in this particular photograph. But let's keep going. And putting the eye line in is often a good way to get them to be in the right place, because I've got this structure underneath, so I know his eye sort of starts here. So they will balance, that's the thing. Got to have them balancing. And then again, we've got the lower lid lit up. And then we've got some mad eyebrows over here, mad eyebrows. Actually, eyebrows. And then there's some shading in there. But again, this lower lid, this lid is lit up. But that, you show that by putting the shading in. So we've got some shading going on here. And also, if you drew the socket as well, it actually defines these areas of skin here as well. because this is apparently the thinnest skin on the body. It's just under the eye, hence all the wrinkles. Okay, we're going to go there and over here, and so we've got that little bit of wrinkling there. It's got an eyelid, and again, so trying to balance the eyes. They've all both got to look at the right direction, but the best way of doing that is actually to abstract it by thinking about the whites of the eyes. Okay, that goes up a bit higher, and that's not working. So again, so I'm trying to get that white of the eye to be balanced with the other eye. Let's hope this works. And again, you've got the gleam, and you've got this dark Spanish eyes. Oh, the pupil. Whoa. There we go. It doesn't look like Dali, but it does look human. It's very hard to get a likeness. And I didn't tell you, or did I tell you, that I can't really do caricatures. I can do faces. But we could try doing a caricature of Dali, although it hardly seems worth it. He seems to do quite a good job all by himself. So here we've got some shading here. That goes in there, and then that's shaded. And then it's kind of going around the corner. Getting mad staring eye syndrome. But that's what's, and then we got the planes of the face. So this is a Holden portrait painting. There's a plane here. Can you see? So this is lit, and then it goes around the corner. This is very useful for if you ever do sculpture, to know the planes of the face. And if you want to get good at drawing, look it up on the internet. There's all sorts of people telling you about the planes of the face. I don't think it looks like Dali at all, but never mind. It's a person. And again, I think I've got this line wrong. This is when you need the layout paper, so I could adjust this. So his nose is casting a shadow over here. Oh, I could get my rubber out and see if it works. If I can find it. Okay. Okay. I'm just going to rub that out. It doesn't really go with the rest. This is why you should always keep your drawings sort of scribbly all over to start with, so that you can really correct things as you go along. And in fact, Dali has got quite a long upper lip. That is quite long compared with your average person. So in fact, I think it's further down than I've got it, but mind you, he's got this completely mad moustache. I'm just trying to relate that, and that goes off like that, doesn't it? Yeah, and wiggles around. There, oops, and again, putting these structure lines in, that will help you get the mouth at the right tilt, as it were. So if I go down here, so that's his top lip, which is in shadow, and then the bottom lip is casting a shadow on his chin. Now that's completely wrong, but never mind. And then you often have, there's some muscles that lurk around here that you can often see defined when you're doing portraits. And this comes down here, and I still haven't given enough chin. That does not look like Dali. Never mind. You probably only know it's Dali because of the mad moustache. And often when you're doing lips, a quite useful thing to do is look at the structure of the lips. Often people will do them sort of like Mae West, you know, like that. But lips are this very complicated structure that goes in and out and is lit in space. So often a good way of doing lips. So if I'm doing lips down here, can you see? If I just get rid of it for a sec. So if you do lips, often a good thing to do is start with the little muscles on either side, and then you want to see what the center of the mouth is doing. So we'll have a structure like that. And then if you put that bit in, the umlaut, or whatever it's called, I can't remember what it's called, and then you'll see there is a structure to the lips, isn't there? So there's this almost stripy band of something or other, and if you can follow that, Maybe I should go a bit more way west. Can you see? So I'm trying to follow the structure of what lips do, rather than just thinking of them as outlines. You want to really think of them as three-dimensional things in space. And then the bottom lip is often just described by the shadow underneath. And then that will often hit the chin. Okay, so always do less is more when it comes to drawing. And then that has this structure like that, but I wouldn't necessarily put that in. I just put demonstrating it there. So you just want to keep everything really quite simple. Big enough to work from. Just realised I've done it wrong on Dali, but let's just keep going. Okay, let's get my rubber back. Here it is. Yeah. As I say, I love these black pencils, but they're really, really hard to rub out. So he's coming down here, and then he's got something happening here. And he's got quite a round chin, but again, he is a bloke, so it's probably a bit butcher than your average. And then there's actually a structure almost going around like that, and that is actually reflecting what the muscles are doing underneath the picture, underneath the skin. So here, and then this is all in shadow. And then mad moustache time. Yeah. Can you see? And then, as I say, he's almost a caricature of himself. I don't think I've done his eyes mad staringly enough. And there we go. Ugh, and the mouth's not right. Something funny happening to the mouth. And then he's disappearing into shadow over here. And over here, I think. So I'm just having a quick scribble. And then this is the frame. So he's got some hair over here. Okay, and now I've made him look like he's bald. Although he's long dead and not very contemporary, but I thought this was quite a good thing to get those structure lines in so you can deal with tilts and three-quarter views.